I'm Dr. Stephanie Waggle, and this is
Miriam. I'm the office manager.
What inspired you to get into this the mental health field?
Oh, wow. Well, we have to go back well, I won't say how many years, a couple years. When I was entering into college, I started working at UPMC's division for dementia prevention. So, mental health with older people, the geriatric population. That was one of my first experiences with mental health a couple of years ago, probably more like 17 years ago. And so I found it really important, even the little things that can be done. Like, for example, something as simple as cleaning somebody's glasses could actually help their mental health a lot, because you'd find with the geriatric population, they were hesitant to ask for help, and they weren't able to see. And if you're not able to see anything, then that's not going to be very good for your mental health. So just small interventions could actually have a really big impact on the quality of life. So that was just sort of the beginning. And then I did a variety of other things. I won't go on too long, but I worked as a psychometrist. I worked at a facility for mentally and physically disabled children in Japan. I worked at the Memory and Aging Clinic at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. I worked at a clinic for pilots. It was general health, but there was a lot of mental health involved. And that was in London with the Civil Aviation Authority. And I've been doing mental health for like a while, I guess. But the question is how did it all start? So that's why I got in my time machine and went back 17 years. And it was just, the small impacts that can have such a big positive outcome, like just simple as asking somebody how they're truly doing, not like you get on the elevator and they're like, how are you, but like an actual talk to me, and that can have a really big impact. So I think that the ability to improve somebody's quality of life just by these small interventions back then made me want to get more and more training and more experience to continue helping people's mental health. What about you, Miriam? She doesn't go as far back as I do, I suppose.
So for me, it started when I was in middle school and high school, kind of having my own mental health issues and realizing, especially as a brown woman, growing up, it's not really common in our culture to really talk about mental health. And so I started to advocate for it when I was in high school, kind of talking about my own experiences, but also making sure girls that look like me knew that it's okay to kind of have these issues and do something about it instead of just acting like it's normal. Dr. Waggle always talks about in her treatment plans, like just because something is normal or common or it happens doesn't mean you have to deal with it. So I always try to advocate for that. And when I was a senior, I actually joined Dr. Waggle's internship program. Wow, I feel old now. That was like 2016, 17.
Yeah. Oh, you do go back.
I was shadowing Dr. Waggle, she would have like activities for the interns where you would, do patient cases and stuff like that. That's when I kind of realized, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. Like, I love psychiatry, and it just really inspired me, and I just kept going up from there. And then when I was in college, I went to VCU, and I really continued to advocate, mentor people in high school and in college. Anytime anyone had something going on with their mental, they would come to me and I would tell them about accommodations that the school provides, getting help, going to VCU Health. There's nothing wrong with medication management. Just like with physical injuries, like if you have stuff going on with your mental health, that's something that also needs to be treated. It's something that also affects your everyday life, your academics. And I really started to really advocate for it, I guess. And it just continued, and I got stuck with it in a good way. And then I worked my way up in the psychiatry clinic with Dr. Waggle, became manager, started my own nonprofit that vividly still works with like pregnancy disparities and healthcare overall. But I also like to apply the mental health aspect, especially since Dr. Waggle got certified in perinatal pharmacology and PMADs. So that's like,
Humans, yeah.
you know, mental health issues among like the pregnant population. So, you know, I feel like it's starting to take off in society, like where people are acknowledging that mental health is a problem. And I want to be like the voice for the younger generation to kind of, you know, acknowledge it, spread awareness, and get help for it.
My name is Supervisor Andrea Bailey, and I am the County Supervisor for the Potomac District on the Board of County Supervisors in Prince William County.
What does it mean for you to be here today?
Well, this is our third annual 5K mental health walk that my office sponsors with the entire Board of County Supervisors. And this is so important because we have to raise the awareness of mental health. And if COVID hasn't taught us anything, mental health is real. And so we can't afford not to raise the awareness, because healing minds will heal the land.
How does it feel for you seeing all these people come together for mental health?
Well, this is community. It's a great feeling, because if we come together as a community, then we come together with a single focus to make sure that everybody is whole. So it's real important. And each year just gets better and better and better.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
Well, I try to just have quiet time. In the morning time before I start my day, I started with devotions. And that's when I introduce quiet time to my life. It gives me an opportunity to just close my eyes and rest my brain for a minute. I don't sleep a lot, but when I do, I take power naps. So it's very important. And now I'm beginning to start another regime of exercise. So all of that helps to the whole body, the whole person, particularly mentally, to release the endorphins that we need to heal on the inside.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What is it about the combination of helping your physical and mental health together?
Well, I think that oftentimes we get so busy that we forget to stop and take care of ourselves. Do self-care. And so what that means, when we're physically and mentally trying to join the healing process, it makes us better. It gives us better character. It gives us better interaction with each other. And so that's why it's essential that we just stop, take care of the whole body, the mind, and bring them together to make sure that we are whole.
What would you say to anyone going through it?
Seek help. Don't be afraid to seek help. That's the most important. And tell somebody, you are important to the world, and you have to regain that and understand that you are important. So if you're suffering from anxiety or whatever that is making your world a little off kilter, seek help.
I am Major General Greg Martin, U.S. Army, retired.
What inspired you to join the Army?
Well, I had a family that had a lot of military background, my dad, my uncles, and so I always thought I would want to join the military at some point. And when it was time to figure out what college to go to, I discovered the service academies, and the service academies are wonderful schools. They're top-notch colleges, and you're simultaneously in the military, and then you owe 5 years active duty when you graduate. So I looked at that and said, man, this is the best, education I can get for the buck. Plus I'll get to be in the Army, something I always wanted to do. And so I just went for it.
Can you tell me a little bit about your own mental health journey?
Sure. From teenage years on, all the way into my 40s and 50s, I was extremely successful. Accomplished, in high school, I was, the top student athlete leader. West Point, I was really very high in the class. Graduated from Army Ranger School. went out in the Army and did, great things and was highly rated, got picked for, promotion after promotion, big job after big job. And along the way, I had incredible energy. I ran 7 marathons under 3 hours. Skied, like we'd leave on a Friday night and drive from Germany to Austria, ski all weekend, drive back just in time for PT on Monday morning. The Army sent me to graduate school, and they said, your mission is to get 1 master's degree. So I got 2 masters and a PhD. And the reason I'm telling you this is not to brag, but I had extraordinary energy, drive, enthusiasm, problem solving skills, creativity, optimism. And so what that reflected, I've only found out in recent years, was what they call a hyperthymic personality, which is living in a state of near continual mild mania. So living on the bipolar spectrum with my bipolar brain, even though I hadn't had onset of bipolar yet, that wouldn't happen until 47, it gave me this big advantage. But if you think about bipolar disorder, as there's a theory that said it's like a kindling effect. Like when you build a fire, you do little twigs, medium twigs, bigger twigs, little sticks, medium sticks, bigger, and then logs, et cetera, et cetera. And so every experience or episode you have with either, some kind of mania or some kind of depression or some kind of psychosis, it all builds up. And so you go up, up, up the spectrum. And so by the time I was in my 40s, I was really very close to having actual bipolar disorder. And, the reason that I had all that extra energy is because, my bipolar brain decided on its own that it wanted to go higher. And so it produced and distributed more of the dopamine, endorphins, and other key chemicals. And when it decided it didn't want to be high anymore, it wanted to go lower, it would regulate by producing less of those key chemicals. And so, the bipolar effect was already in my brain. But then at the age of 47, I was a brigade commander in charge of thousands of troops in the Iraq War. And the pressure, stress, euphoria, thrill of leading troops in combat elevated me into mania. And but I didn't know it because I felt like Superman. I really did. And my performance just got boosted even more with problem solving skills, solving dozens of unanticipated problems before other people even knew there was a problem. I'd already have it solved. Moving around the battlefield, fearlessly with, literally no fear, and so forth. And that's really sustained me during my year of combat in Iraq. But when we got home to Germany, I plunged into depression for about 10 months. And then I thought there was something wrong with me with the depression, but the doctors told me I was fine. And the same thing happened a couple more times over the ensuing years where I was in depression after mania, and I went into the doctors and they said, nothing wrong. But, my bipolar disorder was unknown by anybody, undetected, unrecognized, and undiagnosed. But what happened from 2003 to 2014, my manic highs kept getting higher and higher. My depressive lows got lower and lower until finally, and think about kindling. Now we're putting bigger logs on the fire. My bipolar disorder is going up, up, up until by 2014, I went into full blown mania, which essentially, my bipolar disorder turned into a raging bonfire.
So with your book, congrats, by the way, how did it feel writing the book? How did it help your own healing process?
It was very cathartic and therapeutic. There were periods where, describing the mania, the intense mania and depression, that it was, sort of bad memories, a little bit painful. But by and large, I would say, 95%, it felt really good. I felt like I was doing something important in it. I think it was a form of therapy.
I know for me, I live with bipolar disorder too. And when I was diagnosed about 4 years ago, there wasn't any videos or anything of people living with bipolar and succeeding. And with you writing this book out there, you're going to help a lot of people. How does that feel?
Feels great because, when I began my journey of recovery 7 years ago, just back it up a little. So I went into full blown mania and I was so out of control, over the top, grandiose, religiosity, flights of ideas, talking endlessly, reckless behavior, etc. People complained up the chain of command to my boss, who then called me in. It was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, called me in and he said, "Greg, I love you like a brother. You've done an incredible job. I give you a grade of A plus, but your time at National Defense University is over. You have until 5 p.m. today to resign or you're fired. And I'm ordering you to get a mental health exam." Well, he actually did me a huge favor. I mean, I could have had the stress I was under, I could have had a heart attack, a stroke, a complete emotional breakdown. And so after that, I went into depression for about 2 years, where I had hopeless depression, crippling psychosis. That lasted about 2 years. I was basically fired from my job, forced to retire, hospitalized. And about 7 years ago, I got prescribed lithium. And after 2 years of this depression and psychosis, within 3 days, they lifted. And I haven't really looked back since, and began my journey of recovery. And about 3 years ago, I found my life purpose and mission, which is sharing my bipolar story to help stop the stigma, promote recovery, and save lives. So that's what I do every single day. I speak, and this is part of my mission, being on with you. I write and I confer with people who want to talk about bipolar disorder. And it's very satisfying because it's serving and helping people, and it's elevating a cause bigger than myself.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Good. So for 7 years, I have had no mania, no depression. I have had some blips into hypomania, which is low level of mania. And I have had some agitation, anger at various people and situations. And I've had some PTSD, not too much. It wasn't super serious, but I did have that. I've had some anxiety attacks. But other than that, I'm doing really well.
What are some of the things that motivate you?
Well, my drive is I want to be healthy so that my wife and family and friends get the benefit of a healthy Greg Martin who has his life together, has his act together. That's a super motivator. The second big super motivator is I never want to, although much of my mania was pleasant and enjoyable and happy, much of it was, because it's like being high on the most powerful drugs in the world. But some of it was really frightening. And I was very angry and I was full of rage and agitation. And then the depression was just horrible. I mean, it's the worst thing I've ever gone through. The psychosis was horrible, frightening, terrifying. And so I never want to go into that state again. And the way I'll never go into it again is by keeping myself healthy. And then the final thing about what motivates me is I was given, this terrible, unique experience of, living with acute bipolar disorder, really serious mental illness. And so I want to share it with the world because not that many people go through what I went through and kind of come out of it and like to do public speaking and who like to write. And so I figured, man, this is a perfect mission for me. And so I'm super motivated and it's what I do every day.
I know for me, a lot of people talk to me how I'm doing and all that, but I think a big factor is my wife and kids because they're going through the same thing. What do you do to make sure your family's doing okay?
Great question. Well, two of my sons actually live with bipolar disorder, And so that's been a tough journey on them. And then my wife is both the mother and the wife of people with bipolar disorder. So, I mean, I try to, be a good person, listen, spend time with them, have conversations. And both my sons and my wife are very good battle buddies for me. They know me well, they understand me well, they recognize the symptoms of bipolar disorder, and they can help, you know, keep me in check by saying, hey, it seems like you're starting to get a little bit too wound up with your bipolar mission. Maybe you should back it off a little, give a few less, talks. Or you really got angry about this situation. That's dangerous because anger can lead to bad things and ultimately a relapse. So they keep an eye on me, and then I keep an eye on them. And like I said, just trying to be a good person, be helpful, listen to them, be sensitive to their needs and desires.
I know since the book came out, you've been, on podcasts, videos, and what have you. What has the feedback mean to you?
Well, it's very gratifying. It's encouraging. It's humbling to have literally, thousands and thousands of people following me and, listening to podcasts, reading my posts on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. And I mean, it's really encouraging because I'm doing this bipolar mission to help people, and it's getting a tremendous response. As far as the book goes, apparently the book sales are really brisk. I mean, the book is moving, and a bunch of companies are selling it. It's doing well. All the feedback that I've gotten has been, super positive. People rate it, like as an A plus or an A. I've had a number of people tell me that it's the best book they've ever read on any kind of mental illness and on bipolar disorder. And on the Amazon site, they've already flagged it with bestseller status.
Wow.
So it has to be moving fast. And then they rated it a couple of days ago. It was number 4 on the all-time list of books dealing with bipolar disorder. So I mean, I'm pumped. I'm really psyched up because I think it's going to help a lot of people, and that's really what my motivation is.